Hello and welcome to the Rock Your Voice podcast. Vocal coaching tips that will transform your voice, interviews that will inspire, industry guidance, and so much more. Without further ado, let's get on with the show. Hello, welcome to today's episode. Apologies if the sound is a bit funny. It is stinking hot here today and I've got fans and everything going in the background. So yes, I've got so many fans. Speaking of so many fans, how'd you like that segue? Garth Brooks. All right. I wanted to talk about the Garth Brooks effect today. My husband and I just got back from Las Vegas and we went to see Garth at the Coliseum, and it was exactly what I expected. I'm sure most people would be like, it was amazing. It was life-changing. I know that was Jason's, honestly, I looked over at him several times throughout the concert and he was just a wreck. He was in heaven. He was living his best life in this space with his best friend. And of course, the Coliseum, it's such a great venue to see artists who you would normally see in a stadium setting. So I was absolutely thrilled to be able to see Garth Brooks in this theater as opposed to seeing just a little tiny person on a massive screen in a stadium, because that's probably all we would ever be able to ever do. So I don't know, the gods were looking down on me that day when I was on Ticketmaster and I managed to get those tickets, and it was a phenomenal event. So I wanted to kind of break it down. And don't come at me for this, because I know that Garth has almost Swiftie level fandom. And please don't judge me. And I don't know whether it's because I work in the industry where I'm always helping people to build their stage presence and their technique, that I kind of observe performers a lot more than just sit back and really enjoy the experience. But I wanted to talk a bit about the Garth Brooks effect, because he has a system and a technique and an approach that clearly works and makes everybody feel great. And I wanted to talk about that a bit, because what he does is not necessarily unique to him, but it's unique in the sense of when you go to a show, it's very much a Garth Brooks show. You know you're at a Garth Brooks show. So there's several things that this man does. And what's really interesting, actually, side note, we saw Cody Johnson a few months ago as well. And they both share a very similar approach with how they deliver their show. It is similar to like a preacher style thing. It's like a religious experience for some people. It's this connection. So I think the biggest takeaway for me is not that Garth has this outstanding voice that just blows the roof off the place. Again, don't come at me. He has a great voice, but he isn't the vocalist of a generation. He's not Freddie Mercury or any of that kind of thing. He has a great voice. He sings his songs fantastically. I am not knocking Garth Brooks' voice in any way, shape, or form. I'm just saying there's nothing outstanding about the voice. His songs are great songs. Again, for me personally, and I found this really weird. I was really questioning myself at this at this concert, because I've listened to Garth a lot. My husband has Garth playing all the time at home, and for some reason, none of the songs really stick in my head. Obviously, Friends in Low Places, there's the big ones, Thunder Rolls, all the kind of stuff that you know because you just know. But none of the songs I could say that I really know all the words to, or the melody, or the stories of, except, and this is where it gets really weird. So my favorite Garth Brooks song is Shameless, which actually makes so much sense because one of my favorite artists is Billy Joel, and Shameless was actually written by Billy Joel, not by Garth Brooks. So the one song of his whole catalog that I'm like, please play this live, is actually not one of his songs. So this is really interesting to me. So his songwriting style clearly resonates with millions and millions of people, maybe not just me on that level. I'm a voice coach. I'm obsessed with the voice. I'm obsessed with singers. His voice to me it's great. Again, it's great. I'm not knocking him in any way. I had such a phenomenal time at his show. I'm just really trying to break it down as to what it is that he's doing that makes him this way. So, okay, let's just dig into this because I've talked about my opinion of him enough here. So what I think, first off, obviously, super high energy performance. And he gives it his all. He's not just there mailing it in. And I will say, I've seen Miranda Lambert a few times, and sometimes she just looks like she doesn't even want to be there. It's like we're an inconvenience for her. She's just kind of standing there. I don't know whether that's just her vibe of like being a bit sassy and just kind of like, here I am, just doing my thing. See her at CMA Fest, she gave it a lot more energy. But then, I mean, fair enough. I saw her in Lethbridge, Alberta, in this janky hockey arena, and she was mid-divorce. So fair enough. Sorry, Miranda, for that judgment. But I did also see her at another time, and it was the same kind of thing. But Garth is consistent with massive energy. He runs across these massive stages. He's jumping around. He's engaging in all these dynamic movements. He's really physical. And even when he opened the show at Caesar's Palace and it was him and just his guitar, he was strutting up and down that stage like Mick Jagger. He was up and down making sure that he was paying attention to as much of the room as he possibly could from that stage. So right off the bat, you've got this idea that the man really wants to reach you. It's not he's standing there and you are adoring him. You get this mirror effect of him wanting to reach you. And I think this is the key of the Garth Brooks effect, is it's him reaching out to the audience versus him just being there for the audience. Because the other thing he does is direct interaction. He interacts with the crowd a whole bunch. What he did at Caesars was really beautiful too. They had people going around before the show, chatting to people who were coming in and asking for requests. So literally on stage, he had a whole bunch of people's requests and the stories behind why they wanted these requests. So he would have them stand up in the audience. They'd talk about this person's personal story. He'd sing a little bit of the song they'd requested. And it just really brought the whole audience together as a group, because it was suddenly like we're all connecting with other people's stories. We're hearing how other people connect to Garth Brooks' songs the way that we do. And it was just a brilliant way to connect the audience as a whole and bring us together and in turn closer to the man on the stage. So yeah, and he's chatting away with people in the front rows, like, you know, it's your birthday or whatever, and talking to people about stuff, making jokes. He's very he'll joke about himself so much that, you know, he kind of gives the impression that like he gets, you know, obviously he's a huge star, he's Garth Brooks, but also the human element, the real person behind it all. So he really showcases that. Whether and okay, I'm playing devil's advocate here, whether he believes that or not, I don't know Garth Brooks, but I know people who do know Garth Brooks, and they all have just phenomenal things to say. So it sounds like what you see is legit, and when he is making jokes about himself and being very human and very real, he is telling us, you know, I know you appreciate that I am a massive star, but I am also a human that makes mistakes, or I'm a human that does stupid things, or I'm a human that, you know, I get it, I'm one of you. So again, he works really hard to just align himself with the audience. No matter how huge we think the man on stage is, he is trying to be one with the people in the audience, and that comes down to his storytelling too. He's always sharing stories behind the songs and his life, which gives us insight to his journey, his experiences, adding that personal connection to the audience and him as well. And it just helps, again, create that emotional connection with the audience. We can relate to things. So he's working throughout the whole show. There's the big production, there's all the movement, there's the headset, there's all of these things that are, say, you know, rock star, but then there's so much effort on his part to be like, I'm just like you. In between every song, I'm just like you. I'm an ordinary guy, is what he's telling us. and it makes us feel like we're all the same. Another thing that I have to mention about this show is no one sat down for the first hour and a half. Like, Caesars is a theater. It's a beautiful theater with beautiful seating. Everybody has a ticket with a seat. There are no standing areas, but nobody sat down. Even up in like the higher levels, everyone was standing, everyone was singing. And the sing-along element was really cool. Again, Garth brought across the human aspect of like having dreams and goals of one day having a song that could be a sing-along kind of anthemic thing. And then of course that leads into Friends in Low Places, which everybody knows the words to. Even if you don't know that's a Garth Brooks song, that's one of those songs that you can sing along to at the pub or wherever, So he again engages that sense of community and unity, where you could be sitting next to someone, and I was sitting next to people I've never met. I was having conversations with people in the rows in front, the rows behind, the people next to us, really awesome people, because we all have this one thing in common, the Garth Brooks effect. And all from very different places. There were people from the States, there were people who traveled really far to come and get there, and it was just really cool to meet all these different people, but we all had that one thing in common, all had that same level of enjoyment, and all felt that same connection with the man on the stage. So the sing-along element, people were singing along, and of course we have the voice coach conversation with the lady standing next to me, and I feel so bad sometimes. They're like, what do you do? I'm singing teacher, and they're like, oh gosh, well I can't sing along with the show today, and I'm like, please no, let's go. So yeah, anyway, the sing-along element is really great for just bringing that sense of unity and the collective enjoyment, and being at one with the audience. He takes you on an emotional journey as well. There is the emotional range, so he's really good at building the highs, building the lows, and bringing Trisha on, of course, is just such a treat. That's such an old lady way to say it. It was just such a treat to have Miss Trisha on stage. But for me, that was the highlight. Again, because of what I do, obsessed with vocals, and I think Trisha is a fantastic singer, and I resonate more with her songs. So for me, that moment was a real highlight of the show, and to hear them doing duets and singing the harmonies and everything, I really, really enjoyed that. We had the luxury of seeing Trisha when I hosted the retreat in Nashville in April. She performed at the Opry, and that was just phenomenal too. So I was really excited for him to bring her out on stage. Another really amazing thing, one of my favorite songs to cover of Life is Change the World by Eric Clapton, and one of the original writers of that song, I didn't know, is his guitarist. And this again goes because I am a bitter, twisted human, and I can't believe that someone is just so good and just so normal and so down to earth when you're at that caliber of artistry. But this speaks to the persona that Garth Brooks does portray. His band have been with him for so many years. The rookie in his band has been there for, I think, 2.5 years, he said. So there's not high turnover with the artists and the musicians that are with him. A lot of them have been with him for many, 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 many years. And people aren't going to do that if they're working with someone who's not a good person. So that speaks volumes too. And that made me really happy to see. So yeah, that was really, really cool because I'm like, we're being tricked in some way. There's something behind this. I bet he goes back to his dark room and is like, wah ha 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 ha, I've got them all fooled. But no, I've come around and I'm like, no, Garth Brooks seems to be a really legit good guy who has a strategy down that works for him. It works for his audience, and it's phenomenal. It's not an easy thing to do. Like I said, the energy that he brings to the stage is huge. So yeah, he does the emotional range. He had a really nice way of blending the full band and then stripping it down to acoustic and just taking you on a dynamic journey from a sound point of view. Like it got bigger and it got smaller and it got bigger. And then of course, yes, Trisha came in and he let the guys in his band all have their moment, which was really nice. Some people are sometimes a little bit intimidated by that and won't do that. So it was really cool to see him do that. Again, another check mark for yes, maybe he is a really phenomenal human. And yeah, the authenticity and charisma It really comes across. So what he does too is when the applause starts, he really he really leans into that, showing the crowd his appreciation of it. He'll pause and he'll look up to the sky and he'll hold his fists together in the air in a moment of like triumph or thanks and gratitude, and he's almost crying, and it's very strong. It's very clear what he's doing, and he's just like showing this gratitude. And it's really interesting, and I think, and that gets the crowd going even more, right? Because he doesn't just stand facing the crowd accepting the glory. He does a thing where he'll turn to the side and he'll look up, or he'll focus on something outside of himself. He doesn't just absorb the crowd and be like, yes, bring it to me, kind of like a Robbie Williams or a Gallagher type thing. He literally looks, it's as if he's saying thank you to someone else for the opportunity that he has, or for the situation that he's in, and then he throws it back to the audience in the sense of, no, this is you, this is all thanks to you, not me. It's a really clever cycle with the energy. So again, I think kind of the Gallagher example is a really good one, in the sense that like they will stand there with that arrogant kind of come on, bring it on kind of thing, and he's not even taking it himself. He's kind of thanking a higher power or something for like, how on earth did I end up here? Which in turn fires up the crowd phenomenally. So genius move, whether it's intentional, whether it's genuine, it works. He's just really, really great at what he does. So to kind of summarize, if you are thinking, and I will say it's really interesting, because definitely Cody Johnson has taken on several of these things that make the Cody Johnson show is very similar to a Garth Brooks show in the way of the audience, the way of a kind of very kind of preachy, not preachy in a bad way, but preacher, like he's really talking to the crowd, like stuff that's so passionate to him, and he means it, and he wants people to leave with these messages and this inspiration, and not just to come hear tunes and then just play some songs and get off the stage. It's really I want you to leave feeling something. I want you to want to give you something. So the high energy, really using the stage, really interacting with his band, really making sure that everyone in the room feels like he is working to connect and reach them. And with that, the direct interaction, like working on ways to get personal connection with the audience members and make everyone feel seen and appreciated. Like, honestly, I felt that show was for me, not for a room of thousands of people. I really felt like every time he was talking, he was never like, you guys are amazing, what a fantastic crowd. It was always singular. You are amazing. Thank you for coming to my show, or thank you for being here. It was never, what a great group you are. It was always individualized, which is what a lot of broadcasters will use when you're listening to the radio. It's like they're talking to you as their friend versus, hey, listeners. It's like, oh, you're not generalized. It's actually like, oh, they are talking to me. So he does that a lot, which is really clever. And his storytelling, you connect with him on a deeper level. You're hearing things straight from him that maybe you would not hear in another situation, or would never have heard unless you were at the show. His set lists vary all the time. And again, bringing on Trisha was really special too. The sing-along element, getting people involved. He did a lot of covers too that were, great sing-alongs and anthems. So he got everyone involved. Took you on a bit of an emotional roller coaster. And again, the stage and technology. It was not this was the one thing he did do. And this was really, really clever. He had a video screen that was not showing videos of him, not showing his music videos, not showing cool lights and shows and stuff. It was literally spent the whole show just going around zooming in on people in the crowd. It was kind of like a kiss cam type thing. He was making sure that everyone in that room, that he knew that they were there. And like people were, super excited no one likes No one enjoys anything more than themselves. So he made a big point of highlighting everyone in the building by spending that whole time using that camera and that screen, by focusing in on people in the crowd and showing them on the big screen. So that in itself really celebrated the audience, made everyone feel special. So I think that's the big parting takeaway, really. His gift and his strategy is about making the audience feel special. In turn, that makes them love him even more. So the biggest factor for him on stage are the songs. He is delivering the songs. He is the vessel of the music, and he is celebrating his audience. That is kind of my takeaway of the Garth Brooks effect. It's not about him being worshipped, him being the best, him being the center of everything. It is a group experience with the heart of it being the songs. So I hope that makes sense, and I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts on this. Please comment. I'm going to turn comments on this, because I'd love to hear your thoughts. I thought it was a phenomenal show. I came away thinking he seems like a really awesome person. His band was mind-blowing, and it was just a phenomenal experience. And I do appreciate that, yes, we are very lucky that we got to see this, and we got to see it in such a small, intimate venue. And I really appreciate that. And that is a big deal for me. So yeah, that was a really, really cool experience. Absolutely loved it. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on the Garth Brooks effect. And if you are a singer or a performer, are some of these strategies things that you are going to bring into your stage show, things you can think about that might help you? But I truly believe making the audience and the songs more important than yourself really builds a connection that in turn reflects back on you and then makes you the absolute star of your show. Thank you so much for listening. I will be back with more very soon, and I hope you have a great week. Talk to you soon. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Please feel free to like, share, subscribe, and if you feel inclined to leave a review, I'd truly, truly appreciate it. You can check out all things voice at rockitvocalstudios.com. That's ROCKIT vocalstudios.com. And follow me on social too at Rocket Vocal Studios. Thanks again for listening, and I'll be back with lots more for you very, very soon.